You know, making this video is super difficult because, believe it or not, I had to get footage for it, and firing up Assassin's Creed 3 is almost as tedious as the entire game. So hey everyone, welcome to another video, and in this one we are going to be talking about why Assassin's Creed 3 disappointed me. I just want it to be known that this is not intended to offend any Assassin's Creed 3 fans. If you love Assassin's Creed 3, then that is completely up to you, and that's okay. I'm not going to discredit your love for the game. I'm just going to argue my opinion and tell everybody why I didn't necessarily enjoy or like the game myself. So in 2012, Assassin's Creed 3 came out, and a lot of fans loved the game, but I was personally very disappointed. Now that's not because I'm an Ezio fanboy and I hate anything that's not Ezio, because trust me, that's not the reason why I hated Assassin's Creed 3, because I wanted to like this game, but a lot of me really struggled because when the game first came out, it felt like such a downgrade from previous games in quality of the story. So we went from the amazing story of the first 4 games, and instead we got the mediocre story of the historical segment with Connor and the again mediocre story in the modern day. I say mediocre because the game's story did have redeeming factors such as HATEFUL, and the modern day was at least present, so thanks for that. But beyond that, Connor's story really didn't compel me. I couldn't relate to Connor as a character, I couldn't relate to his motives, I couldn't relate to anything about the character, and I didn't really enjoy his story all too much. The best parts about it were the Hatham bits, and the modern day was full of missed opportunities, and that could have been better. Although it was decent in the modern day, there were missed opportunities. They made Daniel Cross out to be a ponce. The ending felt cheap and a middle finger to Assassin's Creed fans, and now that they've done it, they can't go back on it. And as a whole, in the narrative, it felt like a downgrade from the quality of the Ezio trilogy and the first Assassin's Creed game which started the franchise off. In fact, it felt like a write-off in case they planned on not making another game after it. Moving on from the story, like I said right at the very start of this video, the game was tedious. The gameplay felt tedious. Every time you got in combat, the guards would just keep on coming. You'd have to fight your way out because escaping was piss difficult. The rooftops were really exposed. Everything about the game was really bloody tedious. Some of the missions themselves were fairly tedious as well, such as the naval. That was tedious. The entire game was tedious, let's face it. I mean, this is of course my opinion, but I think it was really incredibly tedious. The tailing missions, the rest of it. Yeah, I found the gameplay to be extremely tedious. The open world felt very boring, although the frontier was very nice and the hunting was quite good and selling stuff felt quite fun. Other than that, the open world was full of nothing. There was literally nothing. There was the odd frontiersman quest and the odd other mission and assassination contract, but none of them were nearly fleshed out enough. And overall, the open world got very boring outside of the main story, and it wasn't very aesthetically pleasing. Boston and New York felt like the exact same city. The frontier felt pretty much like the hills in Boston or whatever, and all in all, it just didn't feel that interesting. The open world wasn't that interesting at all, and thus it wasn't fun to explore, and you just get it done and you play something else, wouldn't you, rather than, you know, exploring that world, because in my opinion it was a very boring. And that's how I honestly felt. I mean, the combat wasn't very fun, it was very tedious, and although challenging, and I like the challenge, and the challenge was graciously accepted, it was a bit tedious, and the guards kept on coming at certain points, and running away never really felt that good. So if you got detected, you'd be on a wild goose chase for the next 15 minutes around the city trying to escape the guards. And if you stood and fight, which is the best way to do it, then you'd have the notoriety system, which was just a pain in the neck. I mean, I like the notoriety system, but how they did it, it was so quick that you get to that point where you could turn a corner and be attacked by 6 people who you have to be extremely skilled in playing the game to be able to handle. Hold on everybody, that's my drug dealer. As I lightly touched upon before, Connor's character wasn't the best, in my opinion at least. Now, I get that he had a traumatic childhood, what with his mother dying in front of him and stuff like that, but he was a very naive character, and this character development was non-existent. He came out the end in the exact same shape that he went in. He didn't have any forging in that. His character development was literally it was not there. there was no character development, at least what that I could see. Now, I can appreciate the character for what they tried to do, and I appreciate that Noah Watts did a good job trying to get the character right, but I don't feel as if he was written very well, and thus it was hard to work with for the actor. And although they did do the best with what they had, I feel as if Connor overall could have been executed much better than he was. And not in like a discount Ezio sort of way, sort of in his own way, make him unique and stuff and have those different personality that we can relate to. That would be something that I would quite happily have seen, but we didn't see any of that. We just saw a naive kid and a naive man, and that was his story. But at least it was obvious that he didn't grow up around his dad, right? Other characters within the game, such as Paul Revere, were nothing but irritating. I just have to leave this here and not say anything more. Another incredibly valid point, at least in my opinion, is that the game is so clearly unfinished. Like, you look at the HUD and you can see that blue alpha feel hue. The game feels as if they rushed to get it out on time. It really does. It feels as if it wasn't complete on release, and the biggest giveaway to that is probably the HUD, because that blue just looks alpha. It looks like it's there as a place, a stand-in, until they get a more aesthetically pleasing HUD, like the one in Assassin's Creed 4 or hell, even Unity. Beyond that, you could tell through the emptiness of the open world. That was another thing that gave away how the game had been rushed to get out and how it hadn't necessarily been finished, because the open world felt pretty empty. Everything about the game was pretty empty. The gameplay itself, the game looks empty. That's because it is. It's an empty game. It was incomplete. Yet nobody seemed to notice this. Now, in conclusion, I'm not saying that the game's bad. I'm implying it. In conclusion, Assassin's Creed 3 let me down because A, it wasn't finished, they rushed to get it out, it felt like it had a cheap ending, the story felt rushed, Connor's story wasn't, fleshed out as it could have been, and his character definitely wasn't as developed as I would have liked, and the gameplay was overall very tedious, and at the same time the open world lacked the opportunities for things to do and get involved in that I could enjoy, and what was there, it felt repetitive and boring and didn't have very much depth. The DLCs that came out, this is the point I'm going to make here, the DLCs that came out were just a bit random really, and I found it very difficult to like or even enjoy Assassin's Creed 3. Now, it did have redeeming factors in it and they were quite enjoyable. For example, the homestead missions, which I really did enjoy, and they proved to be more interesting and had more character development for Connor, but that was like the only in-depth thing that you could do. Everything else was so shallow and uninteresting and boring and not worth the time, in my opinion at least. And overall, Assassin's Creed 3 didn't really hit the target at all for me. It sort of hit a tree in the background somewhere. I really didn't enjoy Assassin's Creed 3 by comparison to other Assassin's Creed games at least. The multiplayer in Assassin's Creed 3 was really good actually, I enjoyed that. And although not the worst game ever, or the worst Assassin's Creed game ever, I feel as if Assassin's Creed 3 was a game that really disappointed me, and that's that. So there you have it, that's why I was disappointed by Assassin's Creed 3, and some could argue is why I dislike Assassin's Creed 3. I felt as if I needed to clear this up because I got a lot of comments from people saying that I dislike Assassin's Creed 3 because I'm just some bitter Ezio fanboy. Now, the latter part of the bitter Ezio fanboy, that's a little bit true, alright? I do like Ezio as a character and I love his games and I think it's an amazing trilogy, but that's not why I disliked Assassin's Creed 3. The reasons why I disliked Assassin's Creed 3 were more of a separate thing to the reasons why I liked the previous games, so I wanted to make this video to clear that up. Now that I've more or less done that, there's no need to waste your time any further. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you all in the next one with another video. So yeah, I'm off to bed now. I should stop.